It began with a sudden silence, an absence deeper than any sound, more deafening than 1,000 sirens. For decades, Voyager 1 had wandered through the darkness, whispering its faint but persistent signals back to Earth. Launched in 1977, the spacecraft had long since exceeded all expectations, continuing to transmit data from the edge of interstellar space, approximately 15 billion miles from here. It became a symbol of endurance, of human curiosity, reaching into the endless unknown. Scientists watched it with reverent attention, always expecting its quiet hum to continue, even as its systems aged and its energy depleted. But then the last message came, and everything stopped. Before we begin, please like and subscribe to the channel for more news. When the last transmission from Voyager 1 arrived, it wasn't mechanical failure or simple silence that took everyone by surprise. It was the content of the message. The last burst of data, sudden and brief, was as if the spacecraft had gathered its last ounce of energy to send its final message. The data stream began as usual, familiar telemetry from the depths of space. But then the instruments detected something strange, an anomaly unlike anything recorded in decades of interstellar measurements, something beyond known cosmic phenomena. It looked structured, deliberately organized, not random, not noise, not natural. Within seconds of receiving the data packet, analysts at the Deep Space Network sprang into action, decoding, double-checking, analyzing. In the control room, where methodical calm usually reigned, a palpable tension spread. The information seemed to challenge established astrophysical models. There were sudden spikes in energy fields that Voyager should not have been able to detect. The radiation frequencies revealed patterns that were too regular to be accidental. And then the transmission simply cut off. No fading, no interference, just finality. The silence that followed was absolute. It covered the scientific world with a heavy blanket. It was a moment when every orbital satellite, every ground-based observatory, every astrophysicist and engineer froze simultaneously. Not because of what had been lost, but because of what could have been found. The nature of the message hinted at one thing: contact. Not in the traditional sense of science fiction. There were no words, no voices, but the transmission bore signs of design, mathematical precision embedded in an alien context, frequencies arranged like chords in an alien symphony. Waveforms formed ratios and sequences suspiciously close to Fibonacci numbers, but slightly off, as if rewritten by a different mind, with its own mathematics, its own version of physics, its own understanding of reality. It wasn't just different, it was truly alien. And it came from beyond the heliopause, the boundary where the solar wind dies out and interstellar space begins. That region, once considered empty and featureless, now held traces of something deliberate. Voyager 1 picked it up, touched something there, and used its last ounce of strength to tell us. In that moment, everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe changed. The illusion of loneliness was shattered not by the loud call of the stars, but by the whisper of a dying machine. There was no time to ponder the implications. The reaction spread around the world. The Mission Control Center held its breath, double-checking every signal path, every frame of data, making sure it wasn't a glitch or interference. The data was real, authentic. The very structure of the transmission, its complex organization and deviations from known physics, was like a fingerprint. Voyager 1 had seen something and tried to describe it in the language of the universe. Astronomers combed the section of the sky from which Voyager's last recording had come, but nothing unusual appeared in the visible, infrared, or radio spectrum. The area was quiet, empty. The message was a flash, not a beacon, an afterglow, not a dialogue. And yet it left a feeling of undeniable presence, a feeling that we were no longer just observers of the universe. We had been noticed too. For a short time, Governments suspended their rivalries. Telescopes turned. Research centers, regardless of borders, joined forces to study the transmission structure. Linguists, mathematicians, theoretical physicists, disciplines that rarely intersect, gathered for international conference calls. But beneath this cooperation, a common unease pulsed. If this was indeed contact, what did it mean? A greeting? A warning? A trace left accidentally by someone passing by? The message contained no explicit threats, demands, or signs of hostility. And yet, its very existence implied levels of intelligence and perception far beyond those of humans. If it was intentional, then the sender knew about us. If it was accidental, then our tiny nuclear-powered probe had come close enough to a phenomenon so large and complex that it left an imprint on its instruments, like a giant wind blowing across a spider's web. Voyager 1's trajectory did not change. It did not collide with an object, but something crossed its path. Or it entered an area where space and time work differently. Perhaps this last message did not come from a mind as we understand it, but from the universe itself, revealing a new facet of its nature. If it can be deciphered, even partially, it could open the door to unknown physics, unknown forms of energy, even hints of civilizations existing on completely different waves of perception. The message was not just scientific curiosity. It may be the greatest discovery in human history, and it came from the void. At the moment when the last of our interstellar messengers breathed its last breath, the probe was slowing down, its energy reserves were dwindling. Over the years, its messages had become weaker, more scattered, more fragmented. Engineers reprogrammed the systems many times, sacrificing one instrument to revive another. Every byte of data became precious. And then, as if knowing that the time had come, it emitted that final signal, a cosmic flash, before succumbing to the cold. After that, nothing more followed. Voyager 1 is now silent, out of reach, a tiny dot in the black ocean of space. But that single transmission changed everything. We sent a machine to explore planets, and it found something that wasn't in the plan, something that responded. What Voyager 1 saw and recorded in its final moments will occupy the minds and theories of many generations. The message was not just a set of data, it was a shift in perception, a ripple that broke the surface of cosmic solitude. For centuries, humanity has been looking up, waiting, and wondering if there is anyone out there. The latest message did not provide a definitive answer, but it changed the question itself. The silence of space is no longer just silence. It is a suspended breath, heavy with the knowledge that something once moved there. It was not an invasion. There were no ships or shining lights in the sky. It was more intimate, a quiet touch on the shoulder, a trace in the dust. A hint that the universe is not just a backdrop, but a stage where others have danced before, or are still dancing, invisible. Voyager 1 was never meant to carry revelations. It was a measuring machine, a wanderer without a destination. But in its aging chains and long solitude, it became the perfect witness. Cut off from Earth, but connected by a signal. Alone in the darkness, but carrying the hopes of a whole species. And when it could go no further, it gave us this: the knowledge that we are not alone in our ability to send a message across the stars. Now it's up to us to interpret it. The transmission can be interpreted in a million ways. Some look for patterns, hunting for mathematical proof. Others listen for melody hidden in static noise. But behind the scientific analysis lies a deeper human response: awe. That raw, electric impulse of realization that the world has changed and will never be the same again. The sudden silence of Voyager 1 was not the end. It was the beginning. A door in our minds opened, revealing that the universe is not empty, but full. Full of secrets, messages, and perhaps future encounters. The last message was not a farewell. It was a signpost pointing forward into the unknown. It did not bring closure. it brought questions. Questions that burn brighter than any answer. The Earth continued to spin. The stars continued to shine. But for those who saw the data, who felt the weight of what Voyager 1 could touch, the world became different. More alive, less lonely. It wasn't an event with explosions or global broadcasts. It was deeper than that. A reorientation of understanding. A quiet awe that settled in the mind like stardust. Voyager 1 is now drifting in silence, its energy spent, its instruments cold. But in this final transmission, it surpassed its purpose. It became not just a tool of science, but a myth. An emissary not only of humanity, but of reality itself. Whatever it encountered, whoever, whatever, it shared its gaze. And that gaze was enough not only to stop the world, but to remind it to listen. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave a comment and tell us what you think about Voyager 1's last message. What do you think happened? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.